What's going on, guys? My name is Triforce Addiction. Welcome back to another COD mobile video. So today we are going to be discussing, or I guess doing a late review of the MG82. So my apologies for not releasing this video when the gun, the day the gun came out. Unfortunately, I was kind of like just stuck in another state doing some, just National Guard business. So of course, duty calls. I can't really ignore something like that. But yes, I do want to make a review for this weapon because I did complete it when I was over there. I did play the game on my downtime. Unfortunately, I didn't take my iPad with me. I just took my Razer Kishi Ultra and then just connected it to my phone, and that's basically the way I played. It wasn't really an enjoyable experience, but I did get the job done. But despite my awful experience using this, just playing this game on phone, which is something I'm not used to, as well as just using a different type of controller that's not the Xbox Elite controller, I do have quite a bit to say about the MG82. So again, like I said, during my downtime, I did go on my phone, just log into the game, and I decided to just grind it out, get Damascus, and that was my original plan, just get Damascus, and then when I come back, I would stream getting Diamond on it, but over there, it's kind of boring. There's really nothing for you to do, so I decided to just finish off Diamond, and yeah. It was a bit of a learning curve, playing on the phone, not having as much visibility as you would if you're playing on an iPad Pro or just any normal iPad, and just using a completely different controller. So I did suck for a few days, but it just took me a single day to just get the gun done. That's, of course, wasn't really that difficult. I had to adjust the FOV and sensitivity settings so many times. I had to fix the dead zone on the Razer Kishi Ultra. And yeah, it was just hell overall. But over time, as I played through the days, I started to get a little bit adjusted. But of course, I wasn't really performing as I normally would on an iPad. But again, point is, I got the job done and I ended up working on Diamond. I did about maybe 30 games one day. I did maybe another 5 on one. And then I guess one day I decided to do 70 of those games. And yeah, I was kind of just experiencing the weapon for what it is and how it moves, because as you guys know, the movement system for this weapon is basically the new movement system that we're going to be getting for every gun in the future for this game. So first off, I do want to talk about the camo challenges before I do talk about the movement system that it does have. So the camo challenges weren't actually really that hard. Long shots were a little bit harder since, looking through a tiny screen, pinpointing enemies, even with the pinpoint perk, was kind of a challenge for me because I'm just not used to it. But again, got the job done. With headshots, I felt like that was probably the easiest challenge, believe it or not. I don't know why, but when I play on phone, it is just extremely easy for me to get headshots no matter what weapon I'm using. Attachments and no attachment kills didn't really matter because, given that we have this new buff for Scavenger where you could just refill 20% of your bullets, basically, since it's a 100-round magazine, you basically could just bring back 20 whenever you pick up a Scavenger pack. It wasn't really that hard to do either of those challenges. I would say this is probably one of the easier weapons to complete the no attachment challenges, because I know there are some guns in the game that get released that may have only 20 bullets, like the CX9 or the ISO 45. But with this one, it was a lot better since you actually had a 100-round mag. Hipfires were easy as well. Hipfires are generally easy, especially if you go on shipment kill confirmed. You could just knock those out pretty easily. So once I got all that done, of course, I unlocked Damascus, but of course, I actually unlocked the Sunken Gambit camo and just basically used that the entire time because that's really the only good camo that it does have currently. I also ended up using the red dot sight on it because an iron sight like that on a phone, not really doing it for me. So yeah, red dot sight had to do until I got the tier 50 blueprint, which does help the weapon a lot. Usually tier 50 skins are typically trash unless it's a sniper or just that one random tier 50 skin that actually has a decent iron sight. But yeah, thankfully this time around, the tier 50 skin was good. It's definitely not legendary or mythic level, but given that there's no skin coming out for it other than just that one, it will just have to do. Maybe at some point they'll have a mythic or a legendary. I'm willing to guess that maybe a legendary would come out for it later on. I don't think for next season, but maybe season 9, season 10, I don't know. But yes, now I actually do want to talk about the movement. So the movement, of course, is a little bit different. It felt a little bit awkward because, of course, we've been so used to just the normal movement that we normally have for every other gun in this game. But this one was a little bit different because it has the Cold War type of movement, that little weird sprinting animation, that rugged little sliding animation, as well as like the jumping animation. It all felt kind of clunky. That's probably by design. I mean, that's something that we can't just get used to within just a few games of using. And also, it's just the fact that this movement system is applied to a very slow gun. If it was applied to an SMG or an AR, maybe it would be a little bit easier to use. But of course, we're not gonna have that until maybe next season or the season after that. So we're just gonna have to wait and see how the movement system actually fares once we have a faster weapon. But for this one, it just felt awkward overall. And I did like 3 games, like the 3 daily games to get those secret cash on my iPad when I came back home. And it's still like as smooth as it was, being back on iPad, it still felt a little bit awkward. So it does take a little bit of getting used to. But now let's actually talk about the performance of the weapon other than just the movement. So the performance is kind of spotty. If anything, it kind of feels like a slower FFAR, maybe a slower M13. It does have a very fast fire rate, as you can see. And the problem is that as fast as it kills, that damage range is probably the one thing that kind of kills it. Because it goes from like 22 damage and then it goes down to like a 6-shot kill. And like it does that very soon. There are 2 barrels that do help it out significantly. I think one of them is the match grade, which increases your range by 40%, but it doesn't really increase any other attributes other than just like, I guess, you lose like 6% sprint speed, which of course, with an already slow gun, is kind of like a huge drawback. And of course, we also have the task force barrel, which does have like an improved multiplier on like the upper arm, I believe. And that's it. And like, yes, it does increase your bullet speed and it also increases your range, but like hitting that one multiplier is just so rare that it's just pointless at the end of the day. And you're already sacrificing stability given that it's a task force barrel. They usually have a lot of, recoil downsides. It's just such a pointless one. Like most task force barrels are like the way to go, but not this time around. But there is another barrel called the division barrel, I think, which actually gives you, I think, 2 different multipliers. But of course, the downside is what kills it. I think it reduces your range by like, I don't know, like 20% or something like that. And again, it just makes the attachment ultimately pointless. If you want to increase your damage, I guess the best bet would be the task force barrel, but then you have to worry about the recoil downsides. But I think a lot of people would agree with me when I say that the match grade barrel was probably the better choice, because 40% damage range does kind of go a long way for the weapon. As much as it slows you down, it's like the only one that at least keeps the gun a tiny bit consistent. I'm just saying for an LMG that the range drop off is just, it's kind of pitiful. And I really don't know where to place this weapon. Like if there's like an LMG meta, I think the MG42 kind of still reigns supreme alongside the RAL, I would say. But movement is another thing I do kind of want to go back on, which is the ADS speed. So something I've noticed with the recent LMGs, the MG42, the the RAW as well as this one, they seem to be slowing down the LMGs a lot more than before. I mean, if you use the S36, if you use the Holger, if you use the M4 LMG, they have options to make your ADS speed a little bit quicker. And you do notice the speed increase, but with the RAW and this one, you can't really notice shit. It's like, yeah, you could put the airborne elastic wrap or whatever increases the most ADS speed, and you won't even feel it. And I do understand that LMGs are supposed to be like the heavier type of like, category. But given that this game is extremely fast paced currently with the USS-9 and the Striker and everything, I don't think an LMG, like whether it be the RAW or this one, can afford to be this slow. If I could say, maybe the RAW has a better excuse to be slow, given that it has like incredibly good bullet spread ever since this update, as well as like just really good range and good stability. But with the MG82, it's kind of like a different thing because there is not a lot of range to help you. It's not as slow as the RAW MG, but I have been noticing a trend that they're starting to make the LMGs a lot slower. And again, I get that they're supposed to be heavy, but given that we're in a very fast-paced game, I don't think this is like the best move. Unless they want to design these more for camping, which I mean, if you look back to like the Holger, that wasn't really much of a camper weapon. People were just strafing around like crazy with the no stock and everything, and they're doing just fine. But with the MG82, or sorry, not the MG82, the MG42, Yeah, that's when, people started camping more with LMGs. Like ever since these last three, like they've been more camper friendly rather than, being more flexible. It is whatever at the end of the day. I mean, we have disable, it works with LMG, so it does kind of help, especially if you're going against people that are moving just quickly. So I guess that's a plus. But yeah, it's just they're becoming very slow. So again, with its range, it does have very good potency in the initial range, but once it drops off, it just yeah, it's gonna let you down more than you think. And I don't think that's really good for the MG82 right now. I mean, it's just like a FFAR in LMG form, but just way, way slower. And even with a fast weapon like the FFAR, the Task Force barrel does help with the multipliers. You get 4 shots a lot more consistently than with an LMG. Another pointless aspect to the gun is actually the magazines. Again, since we do have the scavenger buff that allows you to replenish 20% ammo whenever you pick up a pack, it kind of makes all the magazine options obsolete because you could just like if you're killing like multiple people at once, especially in shipment, I don't think you ever really have to reload. But yeah, overall, I mean, I don't really know whether or not like the MG82 is even meta. It's most likely not, but is it close? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, I guess that's like more of a personal preference thing, but I haven't really seen a lot of people talking about it actually. I saw Noah and Conscript's videos on the weapon, and I mean, Conscript's a different thing. He says like every weapon's overpowered, but Noah probably has the better opinion. And yeah, it's just like an all right LMG. And honestly, it's kind of like a random weapon to be dropped because a lot of us just assumed that maybe it was going to be the Ram 7. But given that they showed us the trailer of like the new movement system, it was kind of obvious that the MG82 was going to be the next weapon since it looked the most developed. But yeah, anyway, that's basically my take on the entire weapon. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you leave a like, make sure to subscribe for some more COD Mobile content. I'll see you guys next time.